Good morning. Welcome to Chronicles Episode 6. And this is what we refer to at 9 Mile Farm as a bad day to be a farmer, sort of, a little bit, and a great day to be a duck. Look at that swale. Now, if that swale was full because of rain, it'd be a great day to be a farmer, because that swale would be full, and the swale up there would be full, and the little swales would be full, and the pond would be banging, and the grass would be recovering. But if you notice, everything looks dry. So how did that swale get full? Well, a farmer named Jack came out here to fill these pools and forgot the water was running and let one of the pools overrun for hours and hours and hours and hours. And I guess that does show that even when you do something stupid like that, it's good to have swales, because even though we wasted that water, so to speak, well, the ducks get to use it now, and we didn't really waste it. We'll infiltrate almost 100% of it back down into the ground. And I've actually had really bad problems with this lowest swale drying out with this drought that we're in. So I'll try to see the upsides of it. We are getting ready for our workshop. You can see this this inner swale here, because of the irrigation that's done on this swale, has grown in. Dorothy's got the lawn tractor out, and she's going to be mowing today. She decided to mow on this side of the property, little areas that do need mowing, since I'll be recording on the other side of the house, so that she doesn't disturb my recording. But yeah, I wasn't even going to do a show or an episode today. I'm going to start doing these things like every 3 days, not every day like I did in the first season. That way the season will run longer and I won't burn out quite to the level I did, because I don't exactly have a lot of free time, guys. But when I saw this, I'm like, we've got to get this on video. Buddy and Joe are pretty happy, and by the time I got the camera, the initial melee was over. But boy, when they saw this morning, their little duck eyes lit up, and they get charging in there. We had ducks from one end of it to the other. A lot of you guys have asked me about the egg collection. Well, we have an area we let them out in the morning of. If you watch the first season, you'll kind of see our whole operation. As I get strafed with a F-35 here. But you'll see our whole operation, how it works, and we'll cover more of that this season. But they have an area they go into every evening, and they come out about 8:30 to 9 o'clock in the morning. And I'd say 90% of their eggs then get laid in that collection area. It makes them easy to find. We put down a big thick layer of wood chips in there. We keep it replenished, and that makes them pretty easy to collect. But you see her right there? I can just about guarantee you, by the way she's sitting, and she's got a little depression in there, that duck's probably going to lay an egg there. And we've just started to learn to come through wherever we've had them, whatever paddock they're in, into certain likely spaces in the middle of the day and take a look for them. And every once in a while, we find a full nest of 6, 8, 9, 10 eggs. And a lot of times we'll have to discard those eggs or feed them to the dogs, because we're not sure how long they've been there. But an egg that's been out for a day is not a concern. It's really not. A lot of people think it is, but it isn't. People say, well, if the egg gets over 40 degrees, you got to throw it away. What temperature do you think that egg is when it comes out of that duck's rear end? It's the same temperature of that duck's body, which is slightly over 100 degrees, by the way. There's another duck there. I bet she's thinking about dropping one there. I don't want to disturb her. And that's the thing. If you start figuring out where your girls are dropping eggs outside of your holding area, don't disturb them when you see them there. Because if they feel disturbed, they'll go off and make a new place, and you won't know where it is anymore. Right now, I know those two places, and I don't want them to feel threatened. There's another spot, and there's a duck in it. So Dorothy will probably have a pretty big afternoon collection, pick up another half dozen eggs today. But you can see that duck right about there. And that's another spot that we've known to find eggs. And then there's one back over there. I don't want to push them off of it. She might just be hanging out, but I'd say this one and those two are definitely probably going to drop an egg today. This one here is probably thinking about it. There's a spot right in there. The other thing we have had to do, we've had to learn the spots and realize that just looking isn't enough. You have to uncover, because they'll bury them. Every morning when I go out to let them out of their cage, if I'm the one that lets them out, there's one white duck that as soon as she sees me coming, she just starts burying whatever's there. So I found eggs there, told Dorothy they were there. She came out, there's no eggs there. I'm like, yeah, there are. Came out, where are they? And we started digging around and we found them. Little pockets they find, little depressions, and they pull grass and weeds over them. But other than that, it ain't that big a deal, and it's not the majority of our eggs. Dorothy's picking up, 5 dozen-ish a day from the holding area. If you're going to do ducks, I don't recommend you have a coop. They don't like to really be locked in. We have a house for them that was already there that used to be a chicken coop, and before that it was a goat barn. And they really go in there when they feel like it. If it's really, really raining, even more than a duck likes, or it gets really cold, they go in there. Otherwise, they like to be outside. Provide protection in the form of electric fencing or hardware cloth along the bottom, lath, whatever you got to do to keep predators out. And I have some Q&A I'm going to do here in a second about that. But they really don't belong in a house, and you're going to have a lot more stink issues and buildup of manure and things like that. Now, if you have a small flock, 6 ducks or something, it's not as big a deal. But if you're going to go into any kind of small-scale commercial where you're talking 40, 50 ducks or more, you really don't want them closed up. You want them more closed into a confined area. Let's go down here, see who's hanging out here. I think the mallards might be down there, or maybe that's just the brothers Green and the Rowan girl. No, we got a bunch of folks down here breaking up on tribal lines. It's like the Rowans and the mallards are hanging out because they know they're closely related. But let's do some Q&A, and I'm going to start answering more of your questions in future videos because it gives me content than in the comments section. Plus, some of you guys, Bonnie Blue, I'm talking about you and other people like you. When you guys comment, it says linked comment, and sometimes I can and sometimes I cannot actually directly respond to those comments. I'm not sure why. Predator question. Someone said they know we have good dogs that do a good job of keeping the property clear of predators, but what about aerial predators? We haven't had much problem with hawks, especially on the adult birds. I think part of it is the Goose's Maximus system, right, which is 2 big giant geese that are somewhat intimidating for a hawk. A hawk wants to get in and get out as quickly as possible. It knows it's at risk when it's on the ground. And these guys, Buddy and Joe, just go ape when anything's not right. Even when some of the ducks are breeding in the pools a little bit longer than they'd like, they start screaming and going nuts about it. So, or the Muscovy drakes, when they fight, they tend to get a little bit upset about that, and they'll break it up. So I think that's a big part of it. But the other part of it is most of the hawks we have around here are Cooper's hawks, and they can kill one of these ducks no problem. Carrying it away is a different thing. They have to eat it on the ground. They can't carry that animal. And because of that, they're a little less likely to take one. So our big concern with aerials is got to be our babies that are over there in that pen. And that's why we keep that containment system so close to the house. It helps to alleviate that pressure as well. We keep the dogs out a lot during the day, and believe it or not, hawks are not exactly thrilled when they see dogs around. So that's pretty much how we handle that. Someone asked, I talked about pruning off some of the blight off some of the trees. Can the trees be saved if they have blight? It depends. If it's, let's find a tree to talk about it. It's not a blighted tree, but this is a pear, or this is an apricot. Let's say it was an apple and it was blighted right there in the trunk. You might as well just either coppice it and hope that something comes back, or just get rid of it. But if, like, this branch is blighted and it came down and it was blighted back into here, right, then what you'd want to do is take this whole limb off, and you could probably save the tree. It depends on how much of it is infected that you don't know about, what's going to come back next year. But pretty much anybody that does pears and apples sooner or later has to deal with blight. And it's really about, does the blight get into the main trunk, and how much risk does it pose to other trees? Is it worth keeping the tree or not? But a lot of times you'll get a tree that'll get a little bit of blight on it, and like one limb will blight, and if it doesn't go back to the main trunk, you prune it off. A lot of people want to prune their blight off in the spring, and you can, but it's probably more productive to let the dry season come, and the blight will cease. It'll stop for the year. And if you prune in the summer into the fall, your blight, you will not spread it. Now, if you're going to prune in the spring, what you want to do is you carry a little torch, a little flame torch, and you flame your pruners every single time you prune so that you don't spread blight from one tree to the next. Or carry around a little thing of like half bleach, half water, and dip your pruners in there. But I prefer just to prune late in the year. Someone asked about crossbreeding. Will our white layer ducks and our golden layer ducks crossbreed with the other breeds? Ducks will breed with anything. I've seen Muscovy ducks breeding now. We do not rely on the reproduction of the flock as our mainstay for making sure we have enough ducks for eggs. So it's not a big concern whether we have some hybridism. And you never know what you're going to get when you do that. Now, Muscovy cross, they call that a mule. It's a sterile duck. It won't lay eggs. It's pretty useless. You might as well eat it because they're two different species. But every duck you see here other than a Muscovy is from mallard genetics. Every domestic duck that we have, again, except Muscovies, comes from the mallard. So they all breed with each other, and you get different colors and patterns and things like that. There's phenotype and genotype, but we won't go into a genetics lesson today. Dirty eggs. Somebody said, you know, they try to keep their eggs as clean as possible, but they still end up with eggs with fecal matter on them and mud and dirt. How do we handle that? Well, first thing we do is we keep as much wood chips down as possible. Second thing, we do not keep them in a coop. We keep them in an area where they can spread out, like I said. That reduces that. Still, sometimes we get eggs with mud on them or poo on them. What we do is we collect them, we let them dry. We use a very stiff bristle brush, like a fingernail brush. And Dorothy just cleans them off dry if possible. And if we do that, we don't do anything else. We advise our customers it makes sense to wash fresh eggs with warm water right before you crack them, and that's it. Sometimes there's some that are so nasty looking we got to clean them just for presentation. We'll use warm water. You want to use warm water if you clean an egg. We let them dry, and then we put a little mineral oil on them to replace the blem that you take off, because the protective coating is called the blem, and as long as you don't wash that egg, it doesn't matter what's on the outside, it ain't going to the inside. The other big concern, if you have cracked or chipped eggs, do not sell them to your customers, and we pretty much give those to the dogs, because that's how, you know, that stuff can get into the egg. And that's really about it for today. So we're going to go ahead and wrap up. Hope you enjoyed today's episode. These guys are going to enjoy a day with a full swale.